Welcome back. We're here again, 3 over 32 podcasts. It's been a wild season. We're going to be touching on a few little points, but I do want to dive in first with college football. As you can see on the top left of my screen, the quack attack really let me down. It was kind of a blunder. I did not see that coming from Ohio State. I don't know what you guys thought about the game, but I just have I have an immense amount of feelings towards how these teams were played or even put into the brackets or even made up as such of a game. Like ASU should not be ASU, like they fought at the end of the game. SMU should not be in there. Indiana not be in there. I mean, it's repetitive at this rate. We've talked about this on the last episode, but I really wanted to know you guys' thoughts on, what you guys felt or saw during the game that you were like, okay, sure, let's hear
Yeah,
it.
man. I think I knew from when Ohio State smacked Tennessee around. I was like, all right, this team's kicking it into different gear. And their head coach Ryan Day basically is playing to keep his job, even though Ohio State seemingly goes 11-1 every year. For them, that's not good enough. They have to win national championships. They have to be competing for national championships. So the way that they came out against Tennessee, I was like, damn, this team looks fantastic. And they showed that against Oregon too. Dylan Gabriel and the offense of Oregon just got absolutely mollywopped the entire game, and it was a
Bro,
crazy watch. Um, I think, kind of beating a dead horse here with the seeding. I gave my opinion on it, right, with SMU and Arizona State. Arizona State really shocked the hell out of me. I'm not gonna lie. They came to play. They played well. Cam Scadaboo put himself on the map for real.
he did.
Um,
Rep,
they
rep
came to
for
play.
draft contention.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He came to play, and the semifinals I think are gonna hopefully will be good games. But it brings up another point I actually had at work with another guy. We were talking about it for a while. There's just unlike the NFL, there's just so much gap in competition all over the country to where there's never truly going to be a fully accurate system of doing this, right? Because you have the SEC and the Big Ten, who are clearly out and out the best conferences in the nation. There's no debate about that, right? And then,
Correct. Yeah.
third, you have the Big 12 and the ACC probably coming in fourth, once if and when Florida State comes back to anything that they once were, they may be able to pick some of the slack in the ACC. But after that, what do you have? You have the American Conference, who had Navy, Tulane, a few others, right? You have the Mountain West, right? That's the best group of five school. And you have what? Boise State, UNLV, teams that really don't bring in the same talent. They don't have the NIL money that these other teams have. So the divide in the full landscape of college football right now, I think, is shown. And no matter really what they do, the only thing that I've ever thought of watching these games that could potentially make it better is if we just don't have conferences, right? It's like the NFL. Every school schedules teams,
But then
or
again, like I'm gonna just argue it with that standpoint because if you look at a team like I don't know Appalachian State and you put them next to Alabama based off of historic value, and you're a student coming from high school into college, and say you're like a 5-star recruit, you're gonna take Alabama. You're not gonna take Coastal Carolina. So there
right,
that kind of shows like the I guess difference in conferences as well as I guess budgetary needs and necessities for
yeah,
NIL deals or
yep,
anything of the such. But that it just shows like some schools should not even be a part of the college football playoffs. Maybe they should have a separate playoff bracket for these like Sun Belt Mountain West teams. That's like
kind of
that's
like how
just
college
coming to mind. Yeah.
basketball. Yeah, kind of like how college basketball. We know they have the NCAA tournament, but then they also have the NIT, right? The National
Yeah.
Invitational Tournament, kind of the B tier tournament. I could agree with that. I think it's kind of leaning. It could be leaning in that direction, especially from what we saw. Now, this doesn't you know, it sucks to say that these teams can't compete because we've seen big upsets. Speaking of App State in '07, they beat Michigan, right, at the Big House. We've seen Boise State beat Oklahoma. We've seen these teams compete, but in the postseason, right? You give Ryan Day, or you give James Franklin, or you give Kalen DeBoer down at Bama. You give them 2-3 weeks to prepare for a game like Boise State, like SMU. They're going to win every time, right? And it's the
Yep.
same debate that we've been having since the 2 team, since the 4 team, and it's always going to perpetuate until there's some kind of balance. Now, again, I bring up schools scheduling their own games, right? On par with that is we divide the conferences up even more. You say, like, geographically, you make a conference. You say you have, a core nucleus of SEC teams, but then you throw in a Tulane, you throw in a Coastal Carolina, you throw in these smaller schools in the actual conference to kind
There's
of
also
mix things up on a weekly basis.
there's also way too many schools to do that. Comparatively to the NFL, as you brought up, to just compare
Yeah.
one another, there is
Yep.
way too many schools for that.
There's
I mean, even if
136 FBS teams.
even if you think about it, like say you did geographically wise, you did the north, south, east, west, just straight up, and then the best, like I don't know, two or three get in. I mean, we're going to see the repetitive same teams. You're not going to see a Sun Belt conference now reach that national championship. And then
Right. No,
also,
I agree.
how are they being weighed? Like, how are these teams being eligible to be brought into the college football playoffs? That needs to be studied and understood. And the NCAA is really, on my end, in my opinion, I just feel like is botching it. Because there's so many other games that we could have seen, like a Miami Bama. Okay, yeah, their records weren't that great, but there's so many different matchups that we could have seen in these playoffs. But we had to watch Boise State against who? Penn State. It was
Yep.
horrible. Ashton
Yeah.
Genty.
And
I mean, that's a whole different side that I want to talk about. Ashton Genty is the most overrated player I see coming out of college football. That's just me. Um,
no.
I truthfully, I just don't get it. But I totally agree with you on that standpoint.
Well, can I bring in
Yes.
my 2 cents on this? So with in terms of the playoff, yeah, they got it wrong because, like I said, they valued conference championships, and the thing is too is that I don't see college football in terms of what the college playoff is going to look like now and for forever. For however they're going to have the 12-team playoff. Eventually it'll expand, but I don't think it's that different from what it's been in the past. I mean, you're going to have the same top teams making it all the way through no matter what. If this was last year and you only had 4 teams, it probably would look like this, honestly. I mean, maybe Oregon would have been the top 4 instead of Texas, you name it. But honestly, I think we're always going to have the same outcome in terms of whether the bracket looks different or not, whatever smaller teams are in it or not. The best teams are always going to win. That's my 2 cents on it. And then another thing, too, I think a lot of people are not bringing up is the recruiting aspect now, how NIL is changing everything. So one thing that I thought was really interesting is that California's top recruits, all of top 5-star recruits from California coming in this year, are all going out of state pretty much. USC only has around 2 or 3 of the top 5 or the 5-star recruits coming out of California. I think there's like 10 between like 10 to 15 5-star recruits coming out of California this year, and USC only has 2. And I think Penn State, Alabama, they're getting all the top 5 recruits from California, and California
Colorado.
Colorado has a 5-star recruit coming, and it's just when I look at that and I look at how college football is going to look 5 years from now, name and likeness is going to be bigger than anything. So if we thought that Alabama, Ohio State, Oregon, these teams are going to be, just dominant now. I mean, wait till they're getting all the 5-star recruits.
It's always going to come down to money at the end of the day, right? And those
Yeah.
power brands are going to have the most money. That's just what it is. They have the boosters. They've been doing this shit for long before NIL.
It's just
Right?
more teams can do it, but it's not going
and
to
now
matter.
it's also public, right?
Yeah, it's public.
But you can't tell me that let's go back, swing it back to like '08. Mark Ingram, best running back in the nation at that time.
Yeah.
You don't think he caught a bag to commit to Bama? You know what I mean? Like
It's true.
it's been going on for 20 years. Now it's just publicized, right? And everybody can do it. But that's not going to stop people from the boosters from going in there, maybe tweaking rules, doing things like that. It's just the name of the game. And I think uh, this is the outcome that we've received, and it sucks. It sucks for the landscape of college football. And I don't think that there's ever going to be an easy fix for this. There's just not, because it's not like the NFL, right? You have 32 teams, they're all on the same playing field. There's cap space, there's all these regulatory things governing it. There's just not at the college level. There's just not, and the other thing that I can't really stand, just one more point that I want to bring up is the not that I can't stand it, but I think that the transfer portal needs to be regulated. I think they need to bring back the rule where if you transfer for a reason solely based on NIL money or something, not related to the school or the program itself, you have to sit out a certain number of games for the next season if you want to make that move, because you got guys bouncing around teams and doing stuff for no reason, right? And I think that kind of, how can you, if you're a team that goes on a good run like an SMU, right? All of their top guys, for instance, are going to probably enter the portal, right? Because they know that they can get a bag somewhere else. They know that they can go somewhere and play for more money and more notoriety. There has to be something implemented where, okay, you want to transfer, there has to be, a 6, 7, 8 game ban if you're going within your conference, or if you're out of conference, a 2 game ban. It can't just be the drop of a hat. You get to go wherever you so choose. You know what I mean? So that's my thing. And that's how it used to be, right? In the old days, if you transferred in conference, if you transferred from Alabama to LSU in the SEC in conference, you had to sit out the whole next year. The whole year. Yeah, you had to take a redshirt year. You had a whole next year. So I think something like that needs to come back.
I mean, it's like it's like you said, it's like free agency now. So now that
Yep.
money's involved, I mean, they don't care about
Now,
playing as, skipping games and stuff.
I'm not going to say that money killed the sport, because every college freak athlete deserves a little incentive. Although you're getting your full entire college paid for, that's great. But football is a tough sport. It's tough on anybody. If you play it at any type of level, it's tough. I just think, I agree with Will. I mean, it needs to have some regulations around it, and needs to have some rules abiding for the transfer portal, as well as maybe seeding for different teams to get in there. That's just me. Like, maybe the amount of NIL deals comes into effect on a roster. I don't know. This is just ideas that I'm just thinking of off the dome piece, and I'm thinking, all right, like, what else can we do to change the game? Because last thing I want to see is another Boise State Penn State game in the college football playoffs.
I mean,
that's the last thing I want to see.
I have a good idea. I mean, this would never happen, but you have, I like conferences. I like having different conferences. I like big teams in different conferences. But at the same time, if you have, how many D1 schools you said there are? 130?
There's 100, about 136 in FBS right now, with more coming and making the jump from the FCS.
I mean, it's hard
let's
to
just say 150.
Yeah. So now there's more coming, which is crazy. I didn't know that. But man, imagine if they just divided, not in different divisions, but they just had different tiers of football where you have the top schools, and then you have different tiers, and then you can compete for different levels of championships. I mean, that'd be cool too. I mean, obviously
we already have that though.
I mean,
we have FBS, FCS, D2, D3, and there's just so many colleges.
But the skill gap and the talent distribution between D1 is not good. I mean, it's like we've been talking about, you're not making, or you're not winning a national championship unless you're Alabama, Ohio State, Penn State, you name it. So
I see what you're trying to do there, but it's kind of like the soccer effect. There's so many teams around the world that are, prolific in some manner. But the English Premier League is strictly the English Premier League. The best of the best get into that league. Is that what you're trying to refer to? Where you look
Well,
at the Championship League, or you look at La Liga, or you look at these other random leagues around the world, like the MLS. I mean, I could see that, but then it's still no wagering within a country.
yeah, I think it's strictly just a talent problem. Where that's why I bring this idea up because I know we have D1, D2, D3, but at the same time, it's like there's D1 schools that just can't compete against each other. Like that's the reality of it. If you want a competitive league, you keep conferences, but I think you make them smaller. I think you keep conferences to like 8 teams, and then the other teams that they can put into a different league because
Yeah,
that's the only way
exactly.
to consolidate talent. I mean, you can't really compete if you're a smaller team in the Big Ten. Like I don't know what's a small
But
team
guess,
like Vanderbilt and
guess,
SEC, you name it. Just they're not
but
competing.
guess the thing is, the thing is again, I get back to the point. Money ruins everything. We
Yeah,
had that.
yeah, we
We
did.
had smaller conferences, right? We had the
Yeah,
Pac-10. We had the Big Ten when it was 10 teams. We had
yeah.
the SEC when it was 10
It's
fucking
good.
teams,
It's a
right?
good point. Yeah.
We had that, but now in this new age of all this stuff, it's gotten away from it. And I agree. We need to go back to more of a power balance because with the bigger conferences themselves, these good teams, these top heavy teams don't get to play each other, right? Texas, for example, they had to play Georgia, right? They did not have to play Bama. They did not have to play, or no, maybe it wasn't Texas. Was it Georgia? It was one of the good teams in the SEC did not have to play. They had like they had Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, um, Oklahoma was bad this year. They had all the crap teams in the SEC were on their
Kentucky?
schedule.
Was it Kentucky? Is Kentucky in the SEC?
Yeah, they are, but yeah, Kentucky was trash too. But like I think it was Georgia, Texas, or maybe someone else. It was someone who was in the college football playoff that played trash teams in their own conference. They never got
Oh,
because of how the draw went.
nah, I can't remember, but
Maybe it was Tennessee, but there was an argument about
yeah,
one of those teams.
might have been
Same thing with
Tennessee.
Indiana, right?
Indiana.
Indiana went 11-1. Who did they not play? Penn State, Oregon, USC, Wisconsin. They played Minnesota. They played Iowa. They played Michigan, who had a down year. They played Rutgers. They played Washington. They played all of these teams that were 6-6, 5-7, 4-8. How does a team
All
in the
right.
Big Ten get that?
So going off of that, I just want to switch it up real quick. Ashton Genty, overrated player, and I don't care what anybody
All right,
says.
hold
Who
on.
did who did that school play? Who did that school play? And he had a recognizable
Listen,
name.
I
Oregon.
Oregon.
dude,
Okay, look what Ohio State did to Oregon. Blew them out of the waters. And I was a big runner for Quack Attack. That was me. Ashton Genty is going to be dirt come the NFL.
okay, before you say that, I think Ashton Genty was overhyped as well until he played Penn State, and I'll tell you why. I think he had like 20 broken tackles that game or something like that, and Penn State is on Georgia, Ohio State's level in terms of D line, and they literally stacked the box the whole game. That's like one of the best defenses in the country, stacking the box against Ashton Genty, and he still got 100 yards. I mean, that's saying something. I remember there was one run in the. I mean, those fumbles were kind of nuts though. Like, but at the same time, there was one play in particular I remember clear as day where he got a handoff. Instantly, 2 guys in the backfield tried to take him down. He broke 2 tackles, literally got skinny, split between 2 guys on defense, hit another dude, broke another tackle, and got like 8 to 10 yards. And my jaw was on the ground. I mean, he had a great game against Penn State. I think people got to look at the tape again and appreciate
Yeah,
that.
dude, I 100% agree with you.
I'm not saying skill's not there, but it's not up to the potential that he's being told stories about. He's on ESPN. He's on every flipping, sports media outlet saying that he's the next Adrian Peterson, the next Todd Gurley, Mark Ingram, Ezekiel Elliott. The dude is not. He's not.
How could you say that?
How can I say that? Because look at his size.
So what?
Look at his size. And then look at the conference. Then he faces a actual defense that can stop him and blows up.
Yeah, but
he had
here's
100 yards, and they
the-
stacked the box.
yeah.
I mean, you got to slow down saying
you
blew
got
up.
to. The thing is if you're an opposing head coach, right?
He blew up.
You know what they're going to do every play. Obviously, he's not going to run for 250 yards and 6 TDs against Penn State. And the other thing, I get the Mountain West Conference bias. We were just talking about it. I get it, dude. But it doesn't matter. At any level of football, if you're 50 yards away from breaking the all-time single-season rushing yard at any level, like,
Yeah,
I mean, listen, am I
special.
gonna sit here and say that he's gonna be the next Bo Jackson? No. We can't put that much pressure on rookies. That's what I'm trying to stop myself from doing. Do I think he's necessarily a top 10 pick? Probably not. But what I will say is he will probably produce in the NFL. We know, and I was telling Greg this on the phone the other day, we know it's running back by committee on a lot of teams.
Now, he's
You
a
put him
workhorse,
in-
though. He's a workhorse running back. He's not a running back by committee running back.
But you're not
But
going to give him 35
teams-
touches a game.
You could, though.
What teams
Nah.
give 35 touches to running backs? What teams? The 2012 Vikings did it, and that was MVP years. Saquon Barkley doesn't even do that now, and he was on pace
Saquon's
to break the
close.
record.
Saquon gets like 20 plus. So does Jonathan Taylor.
That's still missing 10 fucking carries.
And I don't know about you. I'd take Ashton Genty over Jonathan Taylor any day of the week. And if he's getting the same amount of workload in the NFL, Ashton Genty is way better than Jonathan Taylor. So that's my
You look
opinion.
at the different body structure on these backs, and I just can't. I can't put him in the category of these Jonathan Taylors.
Well, then
Ezekiel Elliott.
Well, that's crazy because I can. Because I've seen what he's done on tape. I just know how good he is at breaking tackles. I know how good he is at finding a lane. I mean,
He will fit in on a team. He will fit on a team. And I think, listen, again,
you'll see, Greg.
All
He's
the
going to produce,
hype
bro.
is crazy. All the hype is crazy. I'm not going to lie to you. All the hype is crazy for a running back. I don't care if this was any running back. If you put Ashton Genty on Alabama, would you be saying the same thing?
If he produces a similar, like let's say he had like 300 less yards, of course you'd be saying the same thing about him. You'd be saying he's going to be a beat. Oh, I would be saying the same thing.
If he was on Alabama, he would be recognized already. He was recognized this year solely based off of what his performance was. Who was he last year? Did anybody know? Did anybody know who he was 2 years ago?
I mean, I get that, but this is the thing too. He played two of the Big Ten's best teams besides Ohio State, and Big Ten was the best conference of football this year, in my opinion. They were better than the SEC. So, how could you say he hasn't played good competition if he played two of the best teams in the Big Ten and played pretty well against them both? I mean, that's my opinion.
He botched that game from Penn State.
No, bro. He had 100 yards against an 8-man box every play.
You put Derrick Henry in the college football playoffs. I'm sure you've seen it, but you watch Derrick Henry in the college football playoffs. He makes a game-changing play. He's not a game-changing player. He is not. Whenever you look at it, anyway, from Boise State in a high-octane game, he was not a game-changer. Penn State, he had 100 yards. Good.
Against a stacked box and one of the best defenses in college football.
Yeah, but you got to factor in the other team. Can you name me one other player on Boise State's offense right now?
Probably not.
And by the way, how did Boise score in that game? Play action pass, wide open pass, and a fullback sneak. And everyone was following Genty that play. Genty was the whole game plan on defense cover. They had to because he was their best player.
I guess I just have to end this with this. I mean, I have to see it to believe it. If he comes to the NFL as a miracle, then sure, but we saw the last person that was overhyped to every value possible in this past draft literally do the complete opposite of what he said to the media, what he was about the media. Caleb Williams. He even said to the punter, "You're not going to punt that much." Dude punted more yards than he threw. It's crazy.
running backs. I think
Running backs, quarterback, and variation. Yes, it's different variants.
But like the top running backs have come out been pretty good, too. They've been pretty much guaranteed.
I would love to see him. I'd love to see him get drafted to the New England Patriots on behind such a poverty O-line and see if he can do the same thing. And see if he can live up to the hype, because that would be, or like the Raiders, one of the bottom 5 teams. In rushing yards.
You could say any running back's going to suck against a bad or with a bad O-line. Look at Saquon on the Giants. He was he wasn't good, and now look at him with the Eagles.
He put up 1,000 yards his rookie season.
I'm talking last year, like compared to this year with Saquon.
There was a lot of things messed up with the New York Giants.
I'm just saying, though, if that's your argument, is like a bad O-line doesn't help a running back, you could say that about any running back, in my opinion.
That's just where I lie on it. I don't plan on taking him any fantasy mock drafts or any fantasy draft currently, unless he is proven in practice and training camp, sure. But it's a whole different level, whole different ball game now once he gets drafted, in my opinion. I don't think he's a game changer. But that was my only hot take on that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
I guess we can just dive into our seasons and how we feel about it. Unless anybody else has a college player that about strongly.
No.
Oh, can I? Well, actually, I do want to. Well, unless you want to talk about draft after. Well, you know what? Let's go to our football takes, because I'll bring up draft with the Giants.
All right, fair enough. Seems like, Will, you have a rough weekend this past weekend. So
yeah, man. I'll just say this right now. Andy Reid told his players to just lay on the ground against the Broncos because he did not want to see us in the playoffs. I'm going to tell you that right now. Nobody in the AFC wanted to see us in the playoffs. Everyone was on their hands and knees praying that it was the Dolphins or the Broncos. I can promise you that. Because if we got in the playoffs this year, I'm saying it now, you can say whatever the hell you want. Right now, over the past 4 weeks, I think that we were the hottest team in football. And I don't think that anybody in the AFC would have wanted to see us. And Triple Crown winner, best quarterback, most sacks in the regular season. It's a shame that we didn't beat the Patriots week 1, or else we'd be there now. So I can't be too upset because we blew it, right? We blew it at the beginning of the season like we always do. But I will tell you this right now. We're going to come back next season. I hope that we draft defense. I hope we pick up some corners. We address the needs. And I'm telling you right now, that team is going to be scary because nobody wanted to see us in the playoffs. Nobody. But it's disappointing, and I can't be too upset. Like I said, it's disappointing.
Can I just bring up one thing before you say something? These are the teams the Bengals beat this year. The 5-12 Panthers, the 3-14 Giants, the 3-14 Browns, the 7-10 Cowboys, the 3-14 Titans, the 3-14 Browns again. Broncos, which I guess, OT win. Broncos should have won. In my opinion, Broncos should have won. And then a very sorry Steelers team who's been playing terrible as of late. Those are teams you guys beat. So when you say the hottest team in football, tell me why. Because you just beaten bad teams this year, in my opinion.
But I'm telling you right now, it would have been
anything,
different then, because the defense played a hell of a lot better.
I'm gonna stop you here.
I know we could have done something, bro. I know the record doesn't show it, but I'm telling you right now, I have a feeling that we would have went on a run this year just by how much fire we caught. It's about momentum, bro, and we had all of it. We had 100% of it.
But the Bengals had the easiest way to get to the playoffs, and they botched it.
I agree. The season we had an easy schedule this year. Like, I would agree with you on that, and we screwed it up in the beginning of the. Like I said, if we beat the 3 and whatever Patriots week 1, we'd be in the playoffs right now. I get that. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm complaining that we didn't get in. I'm just saying that nobody would have wanted to see us in the playoffs. I'm just being honest with you. We already went into Buffalo and beat them once. I'm telling you, we could have done it again. That's just what I think. We talk about momentum going into the playoffs and who has it and who doesn't, and I think we were fully loaded on momentum alone. But again, that's neither here nor there. We won't know. It's over and done with. It's another year without playoffs. I think Zach
No,
Taylor needs to go, but that's a whole different argument.
I don't want you to get. I don't want you to get like my, I guess, conversation or my, I guess, reflection towards what you just said. It twisted because I wanted the Bengals in the playoffs
Yeah,
badly.
so did I.
I thought it would have been. I thought it would have been a
Yeah, it would have been
way
cinema.
better, way better weekend than it is already currently.
Yeah, yeah,
But I mean, it's unfortunate. Now you guys have to worry about the future. I mean, T's future, Jamar's future, as well as who's going to be your defensive coordinator. Hopefully, Robert Saleh. But I
yes,
mean, in all those aspects, like that team, once it's built to the full capability, which I know can be because of look who's on your team currently, personnel wise, just needs to be given to the right person to drive that baby all the way to the Super Bowl. You guys did it
I
before,
agree. I agree. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, I agree. And it comes
and
down to coaching.
high key, Zach Taylor blew it off early this year. I mean, it's going to go back to the previous podcast where I said I believe Zach Taylor should be fired. He should, but you got rid of your defensive coordinator. Fair enough. I truly believe that there's something wrong with the Bengals, and it starts from management and coaching. There's
Yeah,
nothing
I
wrong
mean
personnel wise in my eyes.
yeah,
Like players, like you have skill sets all over the field. High players, best in their position, and you missed the playoffs because it was relied on another team's fortune.
yeah.
That's just
No, and again, I completely agree with you. It all goes back to week one, right? It's inexcusable, and like I said, I'm on. I'd say I'm like 60%, 70% fire Zach Taylor and like 30% keep. Um, because I do know that Zach Taylor is an offensive minded guy. He has been since he came from the Rams, and he's proven it, right? With the talent that we have and the offensive production that we have. So he is an offensive guy. So I'm not going to put that all on him. But it also comes down to, we talk about all the time, is just play calling. And especially in that Broncos game, I'm sitting here just like right before overtime. It would have been so easy to just run
yeah.
the clock and score a field goal and just win the game without having to go into overtime bullshit, right?
Mhm.
And it just certain situations like that, it just makes me wonder, like, what are we doing, man? And that comes back to coaching. So yeah, I'm like 70-30 on getting rid of him, but I know they won't. I know the history of this franchise. We don't part ways with people easily. We keep them until the fan base literally is screaming at them to get them out. So I don't expect anything different. I hope we bring in Salah. I hope we bring in, a solid defensive guy and we can beef it up and get back to where we should be. But, again, at the end of the day, disappointed that we're not in, but again, the first 8 weeks of the season, 12 weeks of the season, we were
Yeah,
terrible. So, there's no excuse. No excuse.
fair enough.
Yeah, fair
Matt, you
enough.
want to go ahead? You want to talk about the
Yeah, I
Giants?
mean, so I mean the season was a blur, to be honest. So and am I surprised Joe Shane and Dable are back? No. I mean a lot of the fan base want them gone. I personally didn't care either way. I think that yes, the drafts have been terrible. Yes, they've you know haven't played probably to anyone's standard where they thought they would. But at the same time, it's like I see a lot of bad teams in this league who just rinse and repeat, which the Giants have been doing in terms of coach and GM and stuff. So a little bit of continuity, a little knowing that they're sticking with a plan, even though the plan hasn't worked out, kind of makes me feel like, okay, we'll see what happens. So I'm not saying I'm optimistic, but I'm saying that if you're going to get anywhere back to what the Giants used to be, it's probably better to stick with a plan and stick with a system than trying to rinse and repeat every 3 years. So that's one thing. The next thing too is that a lot of injuries this year. I mean, from Andrew Thomas to half our defense, it's just been really a mess. And I'm not saying that's a big reason why they started losing all these games, because I think they would have lost most of them anyway. But it doesn't help at the same time. I think what I'm going to remember most about this season is the Daniel Jones thing. Am I glad he's gone? Yes, because I don't think he was the answer in the first place. I think that's the biggest mistake the regime has made so far, is giving him that contract, which I think everyone could say is like obvious at this point. But you know, looking forward now, what I want him to do in the draft is probably draft Cam Ward. I mean, I've been saying that since week 1. I like Cam Ward. But at the same time, it's like no one likes this QB draft. I mean, no one likes the QBs in this draft. So that makes me very uncertain now how to feel. If I'm GM of the Giants, I'm taking best player available. My top 3 players right now would be Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, and then Hunter. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the Giants are planning, but man, it seems like the best available option probably would be to pick up like a Justin Fields and just go with it next year, and then pick up like Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter in the draft. That's probably the best plan, honestly. If they were to go with that, I'd be happy. If they get Cam Ward, it's kind of like, man, if he sucks, you're gonna get fired. New regime comes in, they're gonna have to deal with Cam now. It's just like what the Browns and the Bears have been dealing with forever. I don't want to be like that as a team. Like, I don't want a team to go through. I don't want the Giants to go through that. So
it's fair enough to say that.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's going to take more than just this offseason.
Oh, 100%. That's why I'd rather them go with, like, I think the best thing they could do is pick up a Justin Fields and just wing it next year, and then maybe get a quarterback next year. That's the best.
Or even a Sammy Darnold
no
pipe
big
dream.
contracts. No big contracts. We're done with that. We felt that with Daniel Jones. And I honestly, I was just gonna say, Sam Darnold to me is a product of the system. I hate that. I know people are not gonna like that, but I'm telling you, he's a product of the system. If he goes somewhere really bad, like Titans or something, I don't think he's gonna be successful at all. So yeah.
I will say this, adding, dude, one more thing I want to bring up real quick, dude, is just adding insult to injury, dude. Your 2025 schedule is my God.
I didn't even bring that up. Yep. It's bad.
That is the most diabolical thing I've ever seen, bro. You only have 6 games against non-playoff teams.
Yeah.
For our viewers, the New York Giants' home schedule is, the division Cowboy Eagles. Then they play the Packers, Vikings, 49ers, Chiefs, Chargers. That's enough said.
It's brutal.
Then you go on the road.
So bad.
You go on the road, you have your same divisional rivals. Then you have Chicago. Okay. Detroit, you're screwed. New Orleans, possible. Denver, you're probably screwed because Sean Payton is a menace. Las Vegas, unless they figure it out. And that's a rough schedule.
Brutal.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying it's like, why take a quarterback that's like, if this isn't a good quarterback draft and people are correct about their evaluations of Shador and Cam, then why take him if you know you're going to be bad next year? Take the best player available. Take Abdul Carter, who's like pretty much guaranteed to be a stud in the NFL, or Travis Hunter, same deal. Dude's going to be a stud either if he plays corner or receiver. He's going to be good. Just take one of those guys and keep building. I mean, at this point, that's all you could do, especially since the last couple drafts have been a failure. Not last year. Last year's draft was good. But 2022, 2023 drafts have been a failure in most Giants fans' eyes. So just rebuild, get the best players you can. Forget about filling positions. Just get the best players, and then just get this thing fixed. Because, like you said, next year is not going to be pretty. It's just not.
Nope. And I'm sorry, but it's going to be a rough one. All I do is wish you best in your, because it's going to be a couple of years. I mean, you get your salary cap back next season.
Money's good. Money's looking good.
So that's what's probably on your horizon. You dive deep into free agency. I know a lot of and a lot of new weapons, maybe defensive and offensive. So I know that's definitely a huge thing, and I know the Giants like to buy.
There's a corner on the Vikings that's really good. Is it who? Marlon Humphrey?
Byron Murphy.
Byron Murphy, that's it. Yeah, I would like him.
He's probably gonna stay and get signed.
I hope not. I would love to get him.
Give a boatload of money.
Yep.
So going back to the Vikings, I mean, Sam Darnold did the most inevitable Sam Darnold action. The most diabolical thing he could do is overthrow the ball and be under pressure. And yes, that happened because it was the biggest game of his career. I mean, I still don't give it to him. It just showed he's not ready for big games. And now we're entering the playoffs against the Rams, which is the opponent that we lost to this season. Three losses, and we lost to the Rams. So if he does not do it, he's off the Vikings. I have full faith he's off the Vikings. We will not pay him the minimalistic franchise tag of $45 million and think, okay, this is fine. We have Daniel Jones and JJ McCarthy. We'll make it happen. He will make it happen some way, some faction will do it. Sam Darnold, you really shocked the world this season, and I think you were pretty much all forward towards the opportunity you had with Kevin O'Connell, the team you had, defense you had. But in general, look at that game. It shows and screams, I see ghosts. He threw the ball 3 times to Justin Jefferson in the end zone, overthrown. Had him wide open, overthrew him. TJ Hawkinson, 40-yard bomb, overthrown. Everybody's saying TJ Hawkinson's washed. No, TJ Hawkinson is literally a top 5 tight end. And yes, he came back from injury against this team where he got his injury and still performed. You put him in the Josh Oliver and Johnny Munn stat line. Compare those stat lines to TJ Hawkinson's previous, 6 games? He's on pace of beating them both. That I just truthfully do not like Sam Darnold as of now. I never did. Yes, he gave me faith in my team. But truthfully, if JJ McCarthy was playing, we would probably be the number 1 seed.
That's
bearing injuries. Bearing injuries and bearing the Detroit.
I understand what you're saying with that. I do. I think it was a poor performance. But again, that being said, it was against undoubtedly, right, the best team in the NFL right now. In the Detroit Lions, they're solid offensively and defensively. But yeah, I agree. I agree with you, and it all comes down to what he can do against the Rams. And it's scary for you guys because the Rams are just like what I was mentioning, a team with a lot of momentum right now, a lot of guys who have come back, who are fresh, who are playing very well. So it's going to be a tough team to go against. But I would say the thing that you can take out of all of this is that going forward, you have a quarterback in waiting, and you have someone that's been learning and is gonna come back and do well, and you are one quarterback away from doing this all over again. And that's what it is.
I completely agree.
And that's what it is. So you need to take solace in that. And even if things don't go your way, the Minnesota Vikings, this is not going to be a 1-year fluke.
See that this is another thing. Team with the Case Keenum effect. We could possibly see the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship, depending on seeding and depending on where people are at the playoff bracket. But we're talking about a very hot team. You even said it. This is a hot team, the Minnesota Vikings. Our end of the season was insane. Besides the Lions lost, we beat the Packers, Seattle Seahawks, Chicago Bears, Atlanta Falcons, Arizona, the Bears twice, and then we ran through the AFC South. We won our past 8 games from our bye, and then we botch it because Sam Darnold can't throw a football again? What are we, playing JV and football? Like, dude, you have the best wide receiver in the league, wide open in the corner of the end zone. How are you not throwing that ball? Like, how are you not? Took him 3 times. Our defense played immaculate. And that's what made us stay in it for how long we did. And yes, I agree with you, Will. Our future is very bright. But as of right now, you're saying this to a playoff team that I don't want my future to be bright. I want my future red. I want a Super Bowl. I want a motherfucking Super Bowl. I'm not gonna lie to you. No,
Yeah.
it,
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you. It's a weird position, but you just got to hope that he can find the form that he's had literally the entire rest of the season, you know. And it's not gonna be easy. You know, the NFC is a gauntlet this year, and it's gonna be tough.
Now, to be frank, I will say he reached way past the horizon of bridge quarterback. He did.
Oh yeah. Oh
He
yeah.
Yeah.
nuked that baby.
But like I said, I think it's product of the environment, though. Still, I really do.
That is 100% the product of the environment. Kevin
Yeah.
O'Connell, quarterback coach. Josh McCown, a previous quarterback. Look
Yeah.
at the offense he has. Like it's known for.
Yeah.
Look what we did with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins was on MVP pace, and then he tore his Achilles.
Yeah. Agreed.
Simple as
Look,
that.
I agree with all that. Yeah.
Which I hope, frankly, that Brian Flores stays, and we can bring the same enthusiasm we did this season to JJ McCarthy next season, because I feel like we would be a whole lot better. That's just me, but you know, as a Viking fan, I'm happy I'm in it. I'm so upset that we're not the number one seed, because home environment in US Bank Stadium in the playoffs is so key. And now the Detroit Lions get it. It's ridiculous.
The Lions are a hell of a team, dude. I mean, I knew that this was going to be a tough game this past weekend, and the Lions they being able to put up 30 plus points in like, you guys played good defense. You guys did. But to still be able to put up 30 points against your defense is crazy. Like, that just says a lot about the Lions, in my opinion.
I mean, the Lions also played immaculate defense.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
They played great. They played great against Sam Darnold. They know his weakness, and they did it. Simple as that.
Oh, yeah.
But now it's a big test for the playoffs, and I feel like this is a perfect time for us to give off like our predictions, whatever our thoughts are for the opening wildcard weekend, what you guys think. But I do want to start off this question. Will, you answered it before, but you can answer it again. If I gave you $100 to put on an underdog this weekend to hit, who are you taking? Who are you putting that $100 on?
The Washington Commanders.
The Washington Commanders.
I'm taking the Washington Commanders in this one. I do think that that's going to be. I think that's just breaking it down, looking at the playoff tree, looking at Wild Card Weekend. I think that that's the most interesting game in terms of just, the Commanders not being in the playoffs for a while, the story with Baker Mayfield coming back to the Bucs and just being great for the past two seasons. I think in terms of storylines, it's the most just like, just eye-catching, right? It's a 4 and a 5 seed just going at it. It's going to be a great game, but I like the Washington Commanders, man. I think Jaden Daniels has proved it all year, and I think he's going to prove it again against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, dude. I really like them. I think this is a good team, dude.
It's not a 4 and 5; it's a 3 and 6. But I know.
It's 3 and 6. Okay, yeah. So 3 and 6. I think it's going to be a hell of a game, dude. And I'm backing the Commanders all the way, dude. Just comparatively to some of these other games where I don't think it's going to go that well. Like, we're talking underdogs, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Strictly underdogs. I give you $100.
The Broncos ain't doing it. The Packers ain't doing it. The Rams probably ain't doing it. I would say, who was the other one in the AFC?
The Steelers.
Steelers sure as hell are not doing it. And then the only other one was the Texans were the underdog, correct? Or the Chargers?
Texans.
The Texans were the underdog. Yeah, I think that's going to be another very interesting game, very back and forth. So I'd take my 100 on the commies, man.
Fair enough. Matt, what do you think?
I was going to go with Packers. First of all, I think the Eagles, Jalen Hurts hasn't played in like 3 weeks. I mean, people aren't bringing that up enough. And Jalen Hurts is not someone who starts out hot, in my opinion, especially in regular season. So for him to take a break like that, I think is going to hurt the Eagles. Yes, they still have Saquon and stuff, but the Packers are a great defense. And as we saw week 1 when they played in in Brazil. It's a good matchup for the Packers. I think, yes, the Eagles have improved defensively throughout the year, but these are two powerhouse teams. And for the Packers, if the Packers were to win that game, I think they would take that momentum and continue it. I'm not saying they might make the Super Bowl, but I mean, they could. Honestly, they could. So Packers would be mine. And if I had to pick a second too, I got to shout out probably the Rams. And I'm not saying that to bash you, but the Rams are a good team, and I think people have slept on them a little bit. They were hurt a little bit throughout the year on defense, and they're fully healthy now apparently. They had a sneaky a good defense. They had a sneaky good defense, and the game against the Bills should tell you all about what the Rams are. They're a team that when they're also defensively, they played well against that game. Well, for the most part, it was a high-scoring game. But if their defense is playing well and their offense is on point, we know they could beat anybody. Their offense is very good. Sean McVay's a great head coach. So, yeah, those are my two teams. I'm probably higher on the Packers than the Rams, too, if I had to pick either one.
That's fair enough. I mean, listen, I like the Rams, and I will say they do have a sneaky defense, and that offense can go nuclear at any given time. It's all going to come down to who's going to come in with the momentum. I think the Vikings should have a good momentum, being a chip on their shoulder. They lost the last game. They lost home field advantage, or are we going to curl up and crawl into a fetal position? Who knows? But if I was given that question, I would probably put it on the Packers at that sense. I think the Packers come into Philadelphia, smoke them out. Not smoke them out where it's going to be a huge difference in points, but they're going to be so shocked that they don't have answers to on defense. And that defense is sick. But how much can an offense continue and push through a game? We've seen it happen in various games. Look at the Bengals this season. Sorry, Will. But look at the Bengals against the Ravens. They lost into a field goal. The Packers can get in range, as they always do, and do it. I'm putting my money on the Packers right there. Talking about strictly going through each game, I don't know how you guys want to do this, but I thought I'll list out the game. You guys give me your whether it's going to be a good one, bad one, or who do you think is winning? Like, who do you think is going to take it the length width of, they are positionally in the bracket, so forth. So I'm going to just start off Chargers Texans. How far do you think the Chargers are going to, or the Texans?
I think that's another a game that I'm very torn on, because both teams have kind of had ups and downs throughout the season, and especially for the Texans. The Texans have had great moments, and they've also had really not so great moments throughout the year. They've had good wins and they've had bad losses. So it kind of depends on what Texans team really shows up to that game. They've been banged up for a lot of the year too. So I feel like a lot of the time we hadn't seen them at full strength. But then on the other side of the table, you got Justin Herbert, who's having another fantastic year. He's going to be one of the greats in our league for a very long time to come, I feel like. And I like that Chargers team a hell of a lot. I just think it's going to be back and forth. And again, I think it's going to be 50-50. But right now, if I had to choose, I'd probably say I'd go with the Texans by 3, like a 30-27 or 27-24 kind of game. Houston.
Yeah, I'm choosing Chargers. I think the Chargers are just a better team this year. I think the Texans are really struggling as of late, and I don't think home field is going to matter that much for the Texans in this case, because I don't know. I think it's not like they have a rowdy home field advantage either. It's just I think the Chargers could make a sneaky run as well. I didn't want to bring up the Chargers before as like an underdog for making a far run. They're not an underdog. They're favorites, exactly. But I really like the Chargers. I really do. I think Harbaugh is going to prepare them well. And coaching is so big in the playoffs, as we all know. So it's hard for me to see the Texans winning that game.
I kind of agree with you on that one, Matt. I mean, the Texans are totally banged up. No Diggs, no Tank Dell. They have Mixon and Nico and Stroud still. Yeah, that's great, but look at what Harbaugh did with the Chargers and Herbert. I just feel like it's going to go LA on here. For our one friend, the Steelers Ravens. Do we? This I completely the Ravens. The Steelers have been blowing it, but
Yeah, I don't
what do
think
you
that
guys
game's
lie
going
on
to
there?
be. I don't think that game's going to be close. I really don't think. I think the Steelers have just been pretty awful the past few weeks. They've been exposed. Russell Wilson's been playing dog water. Especially that last game against us. When they got the ball back with about 2 minutes left. I mean, he overthrew multiple guys, took a sack, threw it out of bat. Like he was all over the place. In just the last few weeks, that team was what were they? 10-4, and didn't they lose? I think they lost the last four.
They were 10-2.
10-2, yeah, and they lost whatever it was, and they lost the last 4 or 5 games in a row. Again, talking about momentum, I just don't think they have any. Going into Baltimore is going to be almost impossible. I don't really see it being close. I think it's going to be a 31-14, 31-10, 31-17, whatever it is. But I take the Ravens by 2 scores
Yeah,
for sure.
I completely agree. Right now the Ravens are double digit favorites. I mean, if playoffs, if you're double digit favorites in the playoffs, you pretty much have no chance, in my opinion. I can't really go back in the records and see if that's true, but it just feels like one of those games. Steelers, like you said, they just been playing so poorly. Their offense is pretty much incompetent at this point. Their defense is holding on by a string. Ravens are rolling right now. Derrick Henry's going to roll against them too as well. It's hard to bet against the Ravens there.
I mean, I will give it fortune factor. Like this is a division rivalry. They've seen each other twice already. Will it be a high scoring game? I think it has a lot of potential of being like the Sunday night Vikings Detroit Lions game. It's going to be very subtle at the beginning, and then someone's going to break. And inevitably, unfortunately, in this factor, it's going to be the Steelers because of how prolific the Ravens are going to be. That's just
And
my
so man said, unfortunately, like we're not all preying on the Steelers' downfall, dude. That dog water franchise, dude. I don't want to hear anything about it, man.
Facts. Steelers are
I don't
so
want to hear anything
mediocre.
about it, dude. Replace us with the damn Steelers. We put up more of a fight, bro. It's not even
I mean,
close.
that's a fact. I'd
I don't
agree
want
with
to hear.
that.
Unfortunate, my
I
ass, dude.
mean,
I
it
don't want to
is.
hear that.
It is. It is. It is.
Bring no Steelers talk. I don't see any Steelers talk. Any Steelers fans in this fucking podcast. All right,
But
go.
Yes,
Move
sir.
on. Move on. Move
All
on.
right. All right, let's go to big Bohemian Knicks with the Broncos and the MVP Josh Allen.
Not even close. Not even a close game. I don't think at all.
I disagree. I think
I don't think
and
it's close.
I think the Broncos are playing well, man. I know you brought up before that the Chiefs laid down, but man, the Broncos are
did.
pretty good at the same time. Yeah, they laid down. It's still the Chiefs though, but I think it's going to be close. And I'm not and close is in like a touchdown game. Close. I think the Broncos defense is great. First of all, I mean they have a top 5 defense this year. They both play in cold environments, so I don't think weather's going to be that much of a factor if it is cold. And honestly, Bo Nix has shocked everybody. I think he's played, in terms of like a seasoned veteran quarterback, if you're looking at how Bo Nix could possibly be compared to, he's played decent, not great, but for a rookie, he's played great. And honestly, Sean Payton is a great head coach. Like I've been bringing up, head coaching is so important. So I would honestly put Sean Payton, ahead of most coaches in the playoffs still. And I think it's going to be a good game, though. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game potentially. Actually, no. Now I just said Broncos have a good defense. Honestly, it's a coin. The Bills are going to win, but I still think it's going to be a good game. I really do.
Dude, personally, I think this is the year more than ever that everyone's looking at Josh Allen as being the potential MVP, right? We've talked about it all year. I think that team is going to come out so hard, not only in this game, but in the entirety of the playoffs because they want Mahomes. They want him so bad. And I think that alone is going to drive the Buffalo Bills to again, I don't want to say that maybe I'll take it back that it won't be close, but I just don't see how Denver is going to be able to keep up with the Bills offensively, to be honest with you. Even though you got Surtain and a bunch of guys on defense for them, I just don't see it being anything too crazy. I could be completely wrong, and it could be a 3-point overtime game. But also too, Buffalo, yeah, they both play in cold environments, but Buffalo's stupid cold. Buffalo's stupid cold,
Oh,
and those
yeah.
fans are probably one of the best fan bases in the NFL, especially come playoff time. It's a hostile environment, and like I said, they want Mahomes, man. That's what they want. Pat Mahomes in Kansas City. They want him.
So this is where I'm going to say, if there's going to be a true underdog story, a very high or unfavorable underdog, it's going to be this team. It's going to be this team that does it because the Bills not only choke in the playoffs, Sean McDermott can't play football or coach football in the playoffs. And yes, we've seen Josh Allen be on the record books or MVP conversations, but haven't we seen the exact same thing happen to him already? AKA 2021 against Joe Burrow.
I mean, it's
I mean,
Yeah, but
a
we
lot
weren't.
here.
I would say yes. I definitely agree. I definitely agree with you on that. But I don't think that that Broncos team has enough.
So
I
hold
don't
on,
think they
hold
have
on.
enough.
The only difference I can say, and your enough is probably based off of superstardom in the NFL, but that Broncos team has made it to the playoffs without any superstar. Okay, Cortland Sutton, congratulations. But who else is on that team?
That's
At
true.
least
And they don't have a
offensively.
run game either. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking
Fair
about
enough. Fair enough.
there's a true underdog story here, and it possibly could be. I'm not saying I'm putting my eggs in one
I'd
basket,
be
but that plus 340 right now on the money line, screaming to put money on you.
I mean, yeah, I don't know about money line, but honestly, if this is like year 2 or 3 Bo Nix, I'd be much higher on the Broncos. I really would be. I think it's I know you're high on the Commanders, but we got to be realistic with the rookie situations. Yeah, they're great, but I mean, we're talking Super Bowl. We're talking Super
I got
Bowl.
I
But
got something for you with the Commanders, but we have the Packers Eagles. What do you guys think? I already told you my
yeah, I told you mine too. Will, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that that's again going to be an interesting matchup. Do I think that the Packers can win? Yes. I will say this about this game, which I just get this kind of feeling. I think whoever comes out hot in the first quarter of that game is going to win and not look back. I don't
yes.
necessarily think that that's going to be a close game, whether it's the Packers or the Eagles. I personally think that that's going to be the Eagles. I just again, I think they've proven it to me all year. I think they have that edge. But whoever comes out hot, whether it's Jordan Love, Hurts, Saquon, whoever takes control of that game early, they're not going to look back, and it's going to be not a close game. There's
I
going to be
agree.
somebody is going to get in debt during that game. Don't know who it is.
Well,
Probably the Packers, but I think the Eagles are going to come out on top, maybe in like a 31-21 kind of game.
I'm making a crazy prediction here, but I predict that Jalen Hurts has a terrible game. Eagles fans just go crazy at him, call him to get out, blah blah blah. Sirianni get out. That's my prediction, and I think Packers win. I think Jalen Hurts throws 2 picks.
That is
Just has
coming
a
I
straight
mean,
from
hey, we saw it
straight
last
from a
year
dude
though.
with an Eli Manning jersey behind him.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah,
that's my
that's crazy.
prediction.
That's crazy.
The Eagles can fly somewhere else. They could they could go away. So Packers all the way. I hope Eagles just absolutely blow it. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be that would make my whole NFL year chef's kiss if the Eagles get destroyed by the Packers in playoffs. Beautiful. Best
I
ending
mean,
yet.
the Packers went into Dallas last year, same kind of circumstance, and blew them out by like 30. So I'm not
Packers are a
saying
good
they're
team,
similar
man.
team. Yeah, I'm not saying they're similar, but in the same circumstance, like it's kind of the same scenario. So I think
Packers blow out the Eagles.
whoever
Beautiful.
can control that game early is going to win, is my opinion.
And
Yeah.
I hate to say it, coming from a Viking fan, Packers are known for controlling games, especially postseason games. And inevitably I want the Packers to win so they get to kick out Detroit. And then we play them in the conference championship, and then I'm off to Green Bay. So that's my thoughts on it. But anyway, I do like that take. Going to this Commanders Buccaneers game, one thing I want to say, Mike Evans will be facing off against Marshawn Lattimore.
Yes.
And history has given it and has shown it. Mike Evans against Marshawn Lattimore has done zip. Absolute zip. I mean, look at it. He had Tom Brady throwing him the ball, and he did nothing. His highest game with Tom Brady throwing the ball while Marshawn Lattimore was on him was 64 or 63 yards. And that was during the regular season. Now Marshawn Lattimore gets to play him wild card round. Baker Mayfield, the Bucs are banged up. They need to figure it out. They almost lost last week to the Saints.
Yeah, agreed. They had to come back. It was a tough game for them.
The Commanders are that. I will say the Commanders are kind of hot. They're kind of creepily hot in the NFC East. I just believe the Commanders will win that game, and we'll see one rookie pass through, and then he'll get abolished.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, again, it's going to be a good game. I think it's the most interesting, intriguing matchup that we have. And again, we talk about future stars, the current players in the NFL. This is Jaden Daniels' chance to say, all right, I am Rookie of the Year. I am going to take this traditionally dog water franchise maybe to the promised land someday. You have to have that factor in there, and he's got the supporting cast to do it. They have good players on both sides of the ball, man. And like you said, the Bucs are banged up. I love Baker. I wouldn't be unhappy with either result. I wouldn't be happy with either result. If the Bucs win, okay, that's great. I'll be rooting for him, right? But I want to see the Commanders and what Jaden Daniels can do, and I want to see them in the next round, man. So I'm throwing my 100 on the Commanders for this.
Yeah, I like the Bucs. I'm also really happy this is the primetime game because I do agree. I think this is going to be one of the best games of the weekend.
Oh yeah,
and
besides Monday,
Monday's definitely, it's between those two for sure. No, that, like, I'm honest, like those two games are great, and but. Yeah, it's going to be a really good game. I just trust Baker in this situation. I mean, he was in the playoffs last year, played really well. And then I think this is his best season by far of his career. Bucky Irving, insane running back. I mean, they have weapons all over the field. Villa Vea is one of the best D tackles in the league. I mean, they got a good team, man.
Now, but look how slow it got them to start up against the Saints. Look how slow
that was a play in game, man. Yeah, I agree. If the Falcons didn't screw it, that was a play. Shout out to Bryce Young, by the way. But that was a tough, terrible first half all across the board for the Bucs. So momentum definitely playing a role in that.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
I agree. It's going to be a good game.
I'm not negating what you're saying because, they have all be a reason that they lose. But, it could all just come down to momentum and play calling. Todd Bowles is known for his horrible play calling at some points. And look, you have Baker Mayfield and some of the greatest athletes in the league on that team. Can you do it? I don't know. We'll find out Sunday night.
Yeah, could this be like, I mean, was it Joe Burrow's second year he brought the Bengals to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, it was second year. Yeah.
I mean, man, I'm not saying Jaden Daniels is not on Joe Burrow's level, but the turnaround the Commanders have had is amazing. And I know some of us predicted it, but it's better than predicted. It really is.
See, I think it was more. It's more towards the value of Mahomes to Kansas City, in my stature, looking at the game of football, because you have Patrick Mahomes going to a shit organization. Kansas
I mean, they had Andy Reid though before him, so I wouldn't say it was shit.
It was. They didn't make the playoffs for a decent amount of time.
They were.
And you had Jamal Charles.
They
You
were
had Jamal
respectable.
Charles on that team.
Yeah, I just don't think Andy
And
Reid's the difference, though.
all right, fair enough. And I mean, there's not much to say, but I kind of look at Jaden Daniels as the Patrick Mahomes of this era, but we'll see what happens.
But
Yeah,
one
I can see
final
that.
thing on that game is I love the reason why I love the Commanders now and Jaden Daniels is the two most memorable like get off the couch moments that I had this NFL season was obviously the Hail Mary against the Bears and then watching him destroy the fucking Bengals in week 3 where I was just so livid. But then I realized I'm like, oh my God, this guy
Yeah.
has potential to
And
be special. That was the game that I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
And there's
Wow.
another game, too, against the Eagles only a couple weeks ago where he drove down the field in like a minute to win the game. You know how many game-winning drives the Commanders have had this year? It's crazy. They've had so many, it seems like. Jaden Daniels has it, dude. Like, he is clutch. He could win a game down the stretch. And to have that as a rookie is amazing. I mean, you can't ask for more.
I just bleed out ooze of love because the Bears didn't draft him. Drafted, paint my nails Caleb Williams before. I love that.
Yeah. They whiffed. Yeah.
Yeah, hindsight.
That's too early.
Yeah.
All right, so going to the last game, Minnesota Monday. You know I'm on Minnesota's much as I trash talk Sam Darnold. You know where I'm going to stand on this. There's no way I'm not going to take purple. It's going to be, in my eyes, a high-scoring game. Puka Nacua, Justin Jefferson, and you have Cooper Kupp and Jordan Addison going on, and then you have a Jaron Jones and then Kyron Williams. It's going to be a great game. I just hope it's panned out for Minnesota, and the momentum needs to be there.
I think we've kind of already harped on this one a little bit. I think it really comes down to, for you guys, it's which Sam Darnold's going to show up, right? It's really just going to come down to that. Is he going to be able to make the throws or is he not? And it's going to be I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a really, really hard fought game. But at the end of the day, it comes down to how well Sam Darnold can play for you guys. And then at the same time, it's how well Matt Stafford can play for them. It's going to be a real kind of who can figure the game out more from the perspective of the offensive side and the quarterbacks and the play calling. Who's going to take the game by the reins and then go from there. I got the Vikings by 4.
Yeah, I'm still going with Rams only because of two things, really. Quarterback, Matthew Stafford, I'm taking any day of the week over Sam Darnold. He's been there. He's done that. He won a Super Bowl, one of the most underappreciated quarterbacks in our lifetime. Sean McVay.
He's a fucking idiot.
Sean McVay, same deal. Amazing coach. Kevin O'Connell comes from his tree. McVay's going to know exactly what Kevin O'Connell is going to want to do. I just think it's going to come down to how good the Vikings defense is prepared and how well they play. But
the Vikings also have the funny. They lose to the two opponents they play in the playoffs and beat them. Sorry, they lose to the two opponents they played in the regular season. Beat them. They can do something, in my eyes, hilarious.
I mean, yeah.
But
the Rams are.
We'll have to see.
It's just a bad matchup. Like I told you this the other day, Greg. Like out of any team the Vikings could have played, the Rams is probably one you didn't want to because of the matchup, and I think it's just going to come down to that. I would take the Vikings over probably most teams in the NFC. I take them over the Packers. I take them over the Eagles, Commanders, Bucks. Like I would take them over any of those, but the Rams are sneaky. The Rams are very sneaky.
I just hope we get the better side of it if it comes down to a penalty, like last time with the face mask.
Well, hopefully there's none of that in any of these playoffs. Hopefully there's none of that.
There'll be a few bad calls. It's just inevitable. It's inevitable at this point. NFL's just like that now. So
100%. But there's the last few things I want to say. Pete Carroll is interviewing with, I believe, the Bears. Rex Ryan interviewed with the Jets. So luck with that, New York. Mike Flores is on and the Dallas Cowboys denied permission for Mike McCarthy to go else. So Dallas Good luck with the old shambles.
In terms of
Wild.
coaching, number
This
one
last
coach.
part.
This is never gonna happen. This is a hot take too. John Gruden has to come back to football. I want to see
What?
John Gruden on the team. I do. Why you don't?
No,
Why not?
not really. He's
Bro,
just
he's a good
old. And he's
coach.
turning into Lou Holtz, bro. He just babbles on, dude.
Nah, he's great.
I
I love John Gruden.
yeah,
He
but
will never
it's
come back.
proven that he can't rein in a locker room, bro.
I mean,
Sorry, he can't rein in CTE Antonio Brown.
nah, no one could though. Antonio Brown
Yeah,
was
that's
off
fair.
his
Yeah, no, he
rails,
was a
dude.
lost cause. I don't know. That is a hot one, but I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna.
I think he's coming
Nah.
back one day. I think he will.
I want Chad Ochocinco as a wide receivers coach.
That would be
Yo,
fire.
and one more thing about John Gruden, he's going to Dolphins next year. That's my hot take. That's my hot prediction. He's going to Dolphins next year.
Oof.
Yep.
Oof.
Listen, we have
Oof.
plenty of episodes to get through that.
Off season
But I love that.
next year.
I love that.
That's my
Hold on,
prediction, dude. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up this episode. Hopefully, it's a pleasant Sunday for Minnesota. Sorry, not Sunday. Monday. Minnesota Monday. Hopefully, it's a pleasant Monday, and we'll be back chatting it football 3/32, guys. So take care. Thanks for
See you
joining in.
later.